Good morning, everybody. We're really excited to be here for the first ever honey cake cook-along. I am Lisa from the Monday Morning Cooking Club, if you don't know me, and this is my daughter Jessie, who is a special guest assistant today. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Very happy that you're all here. I'm just going to tell you that you can actually comment on Facebook and we will see it, but there's about a 30-second lag, I think. So we will get used to it and hopefully answer any questions that you've got. So let's see how we're going. We'll just get started here. Just want to check that we are live. Are we live yet?
I don't think so.
We will be. It's about a 30-second delay, so we just have to wait and see. Hold on 1 second. Here we are. There we are, Jess. Okay, all good. So let's start. Hopefully you've all seen the sheet of things you need to prepare. I'll just go through it step by step so you know what you need in case you don't quite have it ready yet. So we're going to start with the dry ingredients. We are making Gina's hair raising honey cake, and I'll tell you about the story of Gina afterwards. Just let me know if you can hear us okay, if you can see us okay, if there's any problems. Let us know, but hopefully it's all working fine.
Can we see the comments as they come up?
Yes, we can. If there are any comments, which there are not yet, but I'm sure there will be in due course. So let's
Feel free
start.
to say hi.
Wait, let's start with the dry ingredients. So we've got 225 grams of plain flour, 225 grams of self-raising flour, 40 grams or third of a cup of cocoa. If your cocoa, like mine, is really dark, very good quality cocoa, then maybe 30 grams will be enough. 1.5 teaspoons of bicarb or baking soda. They are your 4 dry ingredients. For the wet ingredients, you will need 345 grams of caster sugar, 3/4 of a cup of oil. Now I've used this oil, which is a really good supermarket oil. It's a grapeseed oil. It's one of our favorites to use for cooking. So I really recommend that. You can use whatever oil you like. It just must be unflavored. So I wouldn't use an extra virgin olive oil. You could use a light olive oil. You can use canola, vegetable, sunflower, whatever you've got works fine. Then we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 4 eggs. And the most important ingredient is, of course, honey. Now, the thing about honey, I can see some hellos. Hi, Tori. Hi, Grant.
Tori.
Thank you. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Sophie.
Hey,
Hey,
Esther. Thanks for watching, guys. So I just want to talk a little bit about measuring honey. If you buy a 500-gram plastic container of honey, it's really hard to get 500 out of it because it sticks to it. If you buy a glass jar of 500 grams, you can tip it out and then you can put it in the microwave for 10 seconds or 20 seconds to melt the remaining bit and pour it in. What I like to do is measure it straight into the mixing bowl because that way there's just no wastage. But if you don't want to do that, because it requires a little bit of precision, what you can do is take your jug, take a little bit of, I'm going to use extra virgin olive oil spray because you won't taste it and it's a good quality spray. And you can spray the inside of the jug completely. And I'm going to grab my kitchen scales. That's something else I wanted to say. It's really, really important to have a set of kitchen scales. I know that some people don't, they don't think it's important. But if you're going to bake, there's nothing better for measuring ingredients than this because we can all measure 1 cup of flour using a cup measure. And I promise you, every one of 10 people's measurements will be different. Whether they pack it hard, whether they don't, whether they fill it right to the top. So it's much better. So I'm just going to weigh the honey. I'm going to put the jar on the scales. The other thing, which is a good tip, when you're pouring honey out of a container, I always wash around the edges before I use it because you'll see in a minute, it's going to drip down the side and I'm going to use that honey. So let's go onto the scales. I've set it to 0. Now I'm going to measure 500 and I know it's about 1.5 cups. So I don't have to be too careful till I get close.
And Sandra, it's 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract that we are using.
Thanks, Jess.
Pleasure. Glad I can help.
Okay, so now we're getting close. It's sort of a game if you do it into all the if you do the wet ingredients and then do the honey last to try to get exactly 500. Yep, exactly 500. So 500 grams of honey, and that'll come out of that jug in a minute. All right, so let's start. Has everybody got their ingredients? Is there anyone that's still lagging behind, or we're all okay? Okay, no one's told us there's a problem, so let's continue. First thing we're going to do is we have to sift the dry ingredients. You either have a sieve like this or a sieve like this. I mean, I think our mothers all had these ones. I think most people probably use this, so today we'll do this one. Jess, I'm going to put that in front of you. I'm going to move that. And you're sifting the ingredients, the dry ingredients together to mix them well, because you want the baking soda to be throughout and the cocoa to be well mixed, and also to get any lumps out of the cocoa. So I'm just going to put all the dry ingredients into the sieve, and Jessie's going to try really hard to keep everything in the bowl. Always better to have a bigger bowl than your sieve, obviously, and then the baking soda. So everybody take your dry ingredients and sieve them into the bowl like that.
Like this?
Yeah. You can actually do it much harder. You can actually do it quite firmly like this.
Ooh, wow, that's some good techers.
Okay, so let me just grab another spoon. So just mix it around, use a spoon. You can also tap the spoon onto the thing like that. Okay, keep going. Mm-hmm. So hopefully everybody's doing that. Sift your dry ingredients into a bowl.
It's hard work.
You can use this to help get it through, and try to keep it over the bowl. If you're concerned that they're not fully mixed at this point, you can do another sift into another bowl, and that's actually we'll make sure they're 100% mixed. So why don't we do that? Okay. Great.
What about the little stuff at the bottom?
That's it. It's all out. Okay, so let's just grab another bowl, and we can do sieve on top. We'll just put the dry ingredients in again.
And mix it again.
And just get it in. I just want to tell you all that this is sort of an experiment, because we would love to do this maybe once a month with a different recipe so that everybody can follow and cook along. We could teach you a chiffon cake. We can do lots of things. So I'd love to get feedback over the next few days about whether you think it's a good idea or a waste of time. Waste of your time, our time, I don't know. Let me know. Happy for all comments. So we're doing a double sift. Let's just make sure it stays in there if you can. Okay.
I'm trying.
Okay. All right. I think the old-fashioned sifter is actually a bit quicker for some reason. You can tap it quite hard on the rim. So let me talk about cake tins while Jessie's doing that.
Wow, what an interesting subject.
Yes, okay, great, Jess. We're going to use this one. This is a huge silicone cake tin. We used to sell them, we don't anymore. If you've got one, you're very lucky, because this is perfect for this honey cake. I hate to say it, but the best way to grease this tin is to use this hideous canola spray. It's a hideous product, and I wouldn't use it on any other cake, but it actually works really well, and it gives a lovely shiny outside. The other thing you could do, if you could be bothered, is to line the tin with baking paper. You'll have to cut out a circle like that, which requires a bit of careful cutting, and then I would just spray it like this. The bottom, and then put this in. This is not good. I'd say you only need to line the bottom, because if you spray the outsides, you can always cut the outsides with a knife. It's the bottom that you can't get to when you're tipping it out. This is a really, really sticky cake, so you need to make sure your tin is really well greased. If you've only got this tin, this is a removable base
Pyrex.
Non-stick chiffon tin, which you actually wouldn't use for a chiffon cake, because if you turned it upside down, the cake and the bottom will probably fall out. but it's probably good for this. But what you need to do is get a piece of foil and wrap it around the bottom like that. Like that. I would do 2 layers of foil, and then I would put it on a tray, because we've all had honey cake batter at the bottom of the oven, on the base of the oven, and it is not good because it burns. So that's what you've got to do with the removable. Woo! Okay.
We're good.
We're good. We're all good. If you've got a loaf pan, then actually one thing this spray is really good for is for sticking baking paper to the pan. Spray the pan.
Thanks, Esther and Tori. Got it yesterday. I like my haircut.
This is how you'd probably make it a bit more even. I wouldn't even bother doing the ends because you can cut them out. Okay. So the dry ingredients are now there. We're going to set them aside for a moment, and we're going to start with the wet ingredients. Jess, could you please crack 4 eggs?
I can.
It's always good to look at the egg before you put it in with all of them. So
What for?
if you just crack 1 egg into there, just to make sure there's no blood or anything icky. I remember once we were making something huge with 10 eggs, and the last egg that I cracked straight into the bowl was off, and you've got to chuck them all out. So don't do that.
Once I made a shakshuka and I was 12 eggs deep in the shakshuka, I had to throw out the whole thing because it was a rotten egg.
So you've got to really be careful with that. So we're going to have 4 eggs. Jessie's going to
Does that go in there now?
Yes, that can go in there. Now, one thing about the wet ingredients. I'm not going to put the sugar in yet because I don't want the sugar and the eggs to sit together without being mixed, because what will happen is the egg yolks will go grainy from the sugar, and you won't be able to fix that. So you can beat the eggs for a second and then put the sugar in, or just wait and put them all in together and mix it. I might pour the honey in though, so hopefully the honey will just come out really easily, which it sort of does in a way, but not as well as I would have hoped. So I'll just use the spatula. This is why I really like to measure it straight into the bowl that I'm using. It's a much better idea. Okay. Okay, so we've got the eggs in there and the honey. I'm going to put the vanilla in. Okay, so just to repeat, we're doing the wet ingredients now. So it should be in your mixer bowl or in a large bowl if you're using a handheld beater. You need the whisk attachment. And in that bowl, we are putting the sugar, the 4 eggs, the honey, the oil, and the sugar that I just spoke about.
With all that oil, are we celebrating Hanukkah or Rosh Hashanah?
It feels like it, doesn't it? So I'm just going to mix it. The whisk beater is the best thing to use for this. So let's just mix it a bit. So just you stay in charge of that. I'm going to get, actually, can you measure me please 1.5 cups of hot water?
I can.
Thank you. Okay.
Do you mind repeating the honey tip for Annette?
Okay, so the tip about the honey, Annette, was to measure it into the mixing bowl. So you would take the bowl for your wet ingredients. I'd probably put the oil in already, put it on the scales, and measure your honey straight into that bowl. That way there's no wastage, there's no other containers, and you're going to have exactly what you need.
Did you say 1.5?
Yeah, 1.5 cups. So I hope everybody's up to where we are. I'll just go over quickly what we've done. We have got the dry ingredients here, which we have sifted into a bowl together. We've got self-raising flour, plain flour, cocoa, baking soda, bicarb, sifted twice together to make sure they're really well mixed. There.
Good question, Helen. Why is sugar a wet ingredient?
It's a very good question. Because we want it to start to dissolve with the liquid ingredients. So now you can see we're beating it. And it won't dissolve completely because you'll still feel it a little bit, but it starts to dissolve. I think if you put it in with the dry ingredients, it would be much harder for it to dissolve through the cake. So let's whisk that. It's okay to get a bit of air into that. Sorry if that's too loud for a minute. The other thing to do always when you're using these machines is to lift them up and then scrape down the sides just to make sure there's no bits hanging around that you want to push in, and also the bottom.
Oh yeah, because you get some honey gunking at the bottom.
That's probably the negative about the KitchenAid, which I absolutely love. But sometimes you do get some ingredients at the bottom because the beater doesn't quite reach. So just make sure you scrape it down in the bottom as well. Okay, that's perfect. Jess, you can just put the spatula in here. Works well. Oh, okay. So hopefully everybody's up to that. Time to get your tin ready. I've been through all the sorts of tins, and as I said, we're going to use this one, which is the silicone tin, and I put in the base a bit of baking paper just to make sure that it doesn't stick. And I'm going to give it a little spray of this. I know it's hideous, as I said, but it really is the best thing for honey cakes for whatever reason. I don't want to promote the use of this at all, but it works for honey cakes.
Some great questions coming from the audience. Tori, how long do we bake the mix the wet ingredients for? Very smart question. Lisa?
Till they're really well mixed. Probably if I had to put a time on it, I'd say 3 or 4 minutes. How are we going to this?
I think we're good. I think it's been 3 or 4 minutes. And what about a Thermomix? Can you do it in this type of machine from Annette?
I have no idea about Thermomix. I'm sorry, it's not something that I'm familiar with at all, so I can't help you. But I assume the Thermomix people out there have got some great ideas for doing this in the Thermomix, but I can't help you. Sorry, Annette. Okay. All right, do we add the sugar with the honey? Yes. So Sandra, yes. So we've got the wet ingredients in there again. We've got the sugar, the honey, the oil, the vanilla, and the eggs. So that's 5 wet ingredients you should have. Sugar, honey, oil, eggs, and vanilla. Have I got everything?
Yep. Beautiful.
Okay.
We still got the hot water, but that's for later.
Yeah. So wet ingredients are there, and when everybody's up to where we're up to, then we'll carry on.
Yeah.
So we should have our tin ready. Your oven should be on. Hopefully your oven is already on 180 degrees Celsius. Everybody asks me all the time, should it be fan forced or conventional? It depends on your oven. That's all I can say. It really depends on your oven. My oven is a 19-year-old oven, so I cook it on the fan setting on 180, but I think it's equivalent to a 180 in a new good quality oven. It would be 180 not fan forced. So I would start on 180 not fan forced and see how you go with this cake, because it burns really easily. Okay, so that's the wet ingredients done. So everyone should have the dry ingredients in a bowl, 1.5 cups of hot water. Let's make sure it's exactly 1.5 cups. And when you measure in a jug, remember to look at the same level, put the jug at the same level as your eyes, and that's a touch over, but that will be fine. Hot water, boiling water is fine because you want to start to melt the cocoa and get the cake warm to start to cook. Helps the ingredients really come together nicely. So when everybody's ready, we will start to mix the 3 ingredients, the 3 parts. But before I do that, I have to tell you why it is called Gina's hair raising honey cake, because this is actually the time that she caught her hair in the machine. So our friend Gina in Melbourne, hi Gina if you're watching, used to make this cake. She used to make it decades ago. And one day she was doing the mixture, and in the old days we used to have the wet, the dry, and the hot water, and used to alternate all of them into the bowl. And she was looking intently into the bowl, and her hair got caught around the beater, and she lost like a whole chunk of her hair. Anyway, it's funny now. I'm sure it wasn't funny at the time, but we call it Gina's hair raising honey cake.
And now we make sure to chop off our hair before we cook honey cake.
So now we keep away from the beater. So while the beater is running with the wet ingredients in there, oh thanks Tracy, she's given some input about the Thermomix. She says use the butterfly whisk attachment, it should work perfectly. Thank you, thanks Tracy.
So the hot water we're about to use, so you're about to see what it's for?
Okay, so I've got, okay, we need a spoon, like what's that? Just a big, just like to get one of those. So that's got honey in it maybe. Okay, so it's just a matter really, while the beater's on low, whisking away, I just take 2 spoons of the dry and then pour the wet.
How much?
That's a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. Yep.
Too
So
much.
you can't ruin this, really you can't. If you tipped all of that in there now, it would go and we'd have flour all over us. So you don't want to do that. So 2 spoons. It's just wet and dry. And you can do this by yourself with a stand mixer. If you're making this with a handheld mixer, you're going to have to put the mixer down, do a bit of each and then mix it. Okay, so once it's incorporated, just about, we'll do the next lot.
So what's your favourite Rosh Hashanah recipe?
Well, this is the traditional one, so I think this is probably something close to my heart, and I bake lots of them every year, but I think my favourite one is probably my Auntie Myrna's carrot simmus, which is like carrots cooked for a little few hours in honey, butter and lemon, and they become these sticky little carrot pieces. It's just beautiful. And yours?
I really like those South African biscuits that are
Oh,
called...
the Tegla.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
From your book, first book?
No, last book.
Last
Third
book.
Actually,
Great
Karen
recipe.
Moscow has given us the most amazing Tegla. Okay,
Yeah.
we're just going to scrape down the sides. We haven't put it all in yet. Jessie's going to scrape down the sides because there's some flour.
What's everyone else's favourite recipes?
Okay, so, all right. And then we'll continue putting it in. Great.
They do sound great, Tori. What's your favourite recipe?
All right.
Is that good?
Yep, perfect. Let's go on. That's good. Okay. Let's carry on. Okay. Again, wet and dry. So we've got the wet ingredients that were in the bowl. We're adding in the dry, spoon by couple of spoons at a time.
What happens if you misjudge, say, and run out of hot water or run out of dry?
It's a good question, Jess.
Thank you.
Which I did yesterday when I was making the one I'm going to show you in a minute, and I put all the rest of the dry in, and it's just not good. But you know what? It's okay because it all gets mixed in the end. So I'm just putting in the last bit. Put in the last bit of water.
Oh, we've got a question.
Okay, let's just. Okay.
Do you always need to use all the hot water, or if it looks a bit sloppy, as Rob's did this morning?
Always. Hi, Rob. No, always. It's a very, very wet mixture, which is why this tin is brilliant and why the one with the removable base doesn't work. That is the recipe. You really need to use 1.5 cups of hot water.
Yeah. And great recipe, favourite recipes, everyone. Apples and honey is a favourite as well, and the mini honey cake. And Sophie, I do love the Mmcc honey snaps. And we have a listener from the Northern Territory. Welcome.
Oh, hi, Catherine. Oh, no, she's not Catherine.
She's
from Catherine. That would be funny, Catherine from Catherine. Hi, Susan. Nice to see you from the Northern Territory. So we've got our batter in here now. So remember, we've put in the dry ingredients, the wet ingredients, which does include the sugar and the honey, and we've alternated it in with the hot water. So that's it. That is the cake. So everyone needs to get their tin ready now because it's time to pour it into the tin. I just want to have a quick word about different tins again, because you can also make it in something like this. This is a beautiful Nordic ware mini bump tin, but you've really got to spray it so well with that spray because otherwise you just can't get them out. The original recipe for this cake was to oil and breadcrumb the tin, and I wonder if we shouldn't go back to that and see if that helps with the sticking. If you're going to make it in a loaf tin, only fill it, I would say, 2/3 of the way. If you fill it to the top, you're going to have an exploding honey cake. It really rises a lot. So I would fill it sort of 2/3 of the way only. You can do it in mini muffin tins. What you can do is you can tear off bits of baking paper. You can spray the tin. You can tear off bits of baking paper and push them into each muffin hole and then pour the batter in. Again, only 2/3 full. And you'll have to adjust the cooking time, of course, for that. So let's just get ready.
And Liz, yes, you can watch this whole video from the start, even now if you want. So you can go back and cook with us. Is that a question?
Oh, yes, but you can't do it now. Sorry, you've got
sorry.
to wait. You've got to wait till we finish the live thing, and then we're going to publish it to the Facebook page, and then you can watch it anytime. And you can ask questions again, but we won't be there to answer them. We'll come in and out, you know, through the day to answer any questions. Thanks, Liz. Hi, Nikki. Nice to see you. Yeah, Rob, how good is that mini bundt?
And an exploding honey cake. Wow, that does sound fabulous.
Okay, so we've got everything in, and hopefully everybody who's following along is up to where we are.
This is the hard bit though, because I really just want to stick my fingers and eat it, but
yeah, you can't do it now. So you can see it is really, Rob's right, it's a really liquid mixture. I remember when I first started making this cake, I used to make it in chiffon tins, you know, the aluminium ones that aren't non-stick. And I ruined my tins, but that's another story. But I used to have to put so many layers of foil around it because they just leak, went all over the oven, all over everything. So don't do that. All right, so batter, tin, ready?
yeah.
And just pour it in.
Yum, that looks amazing.
And
Whoa.
just do this. This is an essential kitchen tool. This spatula. We were thinking of, we've got a new book coming out in February, which will be amazing. It's a sweet book with one savoury chapter. And we were going to, but we didn't, put a list of our essential kitchen utensils in it. And we didn't in the end. We'll probably do it on the website. I think that'd be good. But this is one of them. You've got to have a silicone spatula. This is a Le Creuset one, which is one of my favourites because it's got a nice handle and it's a nice colour, matches the tin. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so this cake is now going to go into the oven. I don't know how many people are doing it at the same time, but I'm going to put it into the oven and I'm going to set the timer for 50 minutes. It's actually 1 hour, but I never ever set it to the time and let it go away because could be a hot oven day. Even my oven, which I use all the time, changes. Yesterday my honey cakes were all different. I mean, not that different, but you know. So I'm going to put it in and set the timer for 50 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'll just do that.
And is the recipe already up on the website?
So yes, the recipe is on Facebook and on the website. You just need to go to search, on our website, Gina's Hair Raising Honey Cake or just Honey Cake. This is one that I made yesterday. I just want to show you what it looks like. It's got quite a bubbly top.
Authentic.
That's what it is. It's very rustic. Rustic.
That's the word.
But the beauty is that when you have a rustic cake, number one, it looks homemade, which we love. And number two, icing sugar is the saviour because you just icing sugar it and it looks fantastic. So I might show you how to take that out of the tin. Let me just put this into the oven. Oh, you've got to be careful with this actually.
Yeah, so these silicone pans they used to sell, but they don't sell them anymore. Is there any way you can get the silicone pans?
No.
Sadly, no.
Okay, so I'm going to put the timer on for 50 minutes. As I said, I never ever set the timer for the full cooking time. I always check 10, 15 minutes before. We have a lot of people who write into us and say they made something and they put the timer on and they went away and they came back and it was burnt. Never allow that to happen because, you know, every oven is different. So let me just grab a knife and I'll show you how I'm going to take this out. Jess, you can chat.
Okay. Hey guys, it's me. Liz, quick question. If you cook it in the loaf pan, is the cooking time different?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'll say anyway.
We'll find out in just a minute.
Okay. So yeah, that's a good question. If you cook it in the loaf pan, I think it'll probably need about 45 minutes, but watch it. So what I would do in the loaf pan is cook it for 25 minutes at 180 and then turn it down to 160, maybe 165 and cook it for another 25 and then have a look at it. The best way to tell if it's ready for me is shake the pan. It shouldn't be liquid at all. And you should be able to gently touch your palm onto the surface of the cake and it should be set. Okay, so here's the cake I'm going to do. I'm going to get a knife, I'm going to run it around the outside because I never ever want to trust the tin. Because it's very sad when you put all this effort in and then you tip it out and it's broken. Happens often to everybody. Okay, so I think this is quite good. It feels ready.
Yum. Looks delish. What part of the oven do you normally put your cakes in?
I just cook everything in the middle. Okay, a rack.
Whoa.
Yeah, drum roll, no pressure. With the silicone, you can sort of feel it coming out. Yeah. Feels a bit stuck. Woo! See, it's
And they're
stuck.
still
You can see-
stuck
You can
to
see
lift.
it's stuck a little bit. My knife, I didn't go around properly with the knife. It just shows you, you know, you've got to be really careful. And then, if you're giving it a gift, these are great things to give the cake on. And I just do this. Again, flip it upside down. Icing sugar it. And there is the most beautiful honey cake for Rosh Hashanah. One thing I'll say about this cake, it is better made 2 or 3 days ahead. Something changes in it. It just becomes a little bit stickier and a little bit more flavoursome.
Agreed.
It is really, I mean, it's great now. If we cut in and had a piece, we'd love it. But I recommend now wrapping it up, I'd probably do plastic wrap and foil, put it in a cool place, not the fridge, and 2 or 3 days time for Rosh Hashanah, open it and there's your cake. So I think that's it for now from us. I think we're going to go. I'm just going to see if there's any other questions. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, it is a lovely deep cake. It's huge. It's huge. Yes, Jessie.
That's exactly what I did.
So thank you all for tuning in live. It was great, and I'd love your feedback on what you think worked, what didn't work. Should we do it again for something else?
Do you want me back?
I might check in again when the cake is ready, just so you can see what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. In the meantime, hope yours work out really well, and we'll check in again in maybe 1 hour's time or just under.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Jess, do you want to go around and press finish? So yes. Thanks everyone. Lovely to have you all here. Bye for now.